Zoran Mamdani has just become the first Muslim American mayor of New York City. The last 2 weeks have seen some of the most naked, shameless, ugly anti-Muslim bigotry that I have experienced in the past 23, 24 years after 9/11, right? The Democratic leadership, the establishment, Hakeem Jeffries is sitting there crowing and taking credit for this. They ain't part of the future. And we were talking about how to fight back against fascism using hope, humor, and hummus. That was the title. And I was sitting there just flipping through my phone, trying to do the talk, but also looking at the election results. And right before we went on stage, about 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, it was announced that Zoran Mamdani, a Muslim immigrant, a brown-skinned man, has just become the first Muslim American mayor of New York City. Not only that, folks, not only that, Virginia, every single district leaned blue. You got a trifecta, like I said we would, right? You got Spanberger for governor. You got Hashmi, the first Muslim Pakistani American a woman as a lieutenant governor, first woman governor with of Virginia with Spanberger, and Jay Jones. Like I said, these Republicans effed around with the shutdown. In an upset, he came back and beat Miyares as Attorney General. Also, another race we were looking at, Pennsylvania. Will all the millions of dollars spent by the right-wing oligarchy be enough to flip the Pennsylvania Supreme Court? Nope. Nope. Pennsylvania Supreme Court, Pennsylvania voters said, oh, no, 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 we know what time it is. And they came out. Then you got the New Jersey governor, and people remember that a couple of days ago? God, the corporate media sucks. It's a tight race, so I don't know. The Republican might take it. I don't know. But she won. She won by a double digits. Furthermore, let me see some other good news. I'm right here in California, and we were waiting for the polls to close. And we were saying, all right, maybe 60-40. 60-40 for Prop 50. Prop 50, for those who don't know, is the Democratic response to Donald Trump's shameless attempt to gain 150 seats, and 150 seats to gerrymandering. And you saw the Republican reeks in Texas say, okay. And then finally, we're like California, the most populous state. California, 40 million people. California, you have friggin' the fourth largest economy. Do something. And Newsom said, all right, let me do Prop 50. And others, the centrists and the moderates, were like, no, don't do that. Folks, I got this results right in front of me. 65-35. I thought it'd be 60-40, 65-35. Mamdani, he almost won by double digits, 50.4 to 41.6. Thank you, Silva. Thank you, Sliwa, and your beret. I love it. Love it so much. Look at the numbers. I want to see the numbers right now that I have with the governor's race. Cheryl, how much did she beat him by, folks? Anyone to get the numbers for me? I just came in, folks. I'm trying my best to get you in real time. But she even expanded her lead, beat her by double digits. Spanberger won by double digits. Folks, all this money that was spent to defeat Zoran Mamdani, all the anti-Muslim bigotry, all the Islamophobia, all the smear campaigns, the fact that Bloomberg came and poured in millions, the fact that the Democratic establishment brought out Bill Clinton and initially James Clyburn, the fact that Lawrence Summers came out, admitted his ignorance about New York, but said, I don't know, I think Mamdani's going to be terrible. The fact that the New York Times, corporate media, all came out. They all came out against Mamdani. The last 2 weeks have seen some of the most naked, shameless, ugly anti-Muslim bigotry that I have experienced in the past 23, 24 years after 9/11, right? It's that bad. And folks, Mamdani got a record turnout, was a distant number 2 when we interviewed him, in the spring for Zateo when Francesca and I hosted America Unhinged looking at the first 100 days of the Trump administration. He was our guest. He was a distant number 2. And this dude came out of nowhere and just defeated the entirety of the establishment. Not only did he defeat the billionaires, not only did he defeat AIPAC, not only did he defeat Cuomo, not only did he defeat Sliwa, he also defeated the Democratic establishment. Yes, I said the Democratic establishment, folks, because Chuck Schumer, it's 10:15 p.m. in California. The date right now is November 5th. November 4th. I know it's November 5th in the East Coast. Has Chuck Schumer endorsed Zoran Mamdani yet? Nope. Nope. Still hasn't endorsed him. Still hasn't endorsed him. Hakeem Jeffries, remember that a couple of days ago, grudgingly, he said, "Okay, okay, I will endorse Mamdani." Yes, but when asked, I think it was yesterday, if he is the future of the Democratic Party, the answer that I would have given was he represents part of the future of the Democratic Party, and so does Spanberger, and so does Jay Jones, and so does AOC, and so does Chuck Schumer. But what did Jeffries say? No. He said no. Folks, the Democratic leadership, the establishment, Hakeem Jeffries is sitting there crowing and taking credit for this. They ain't part of the future. That's what I said. I tweeted and I said, "No, you're not leading us anywhere. You just ate dirt." Some I see Ernie Pennsylvania race is still being updated. State Supreme Court. Last time I checked, I think they won. But let me know, folks. Virginia. Okay, thank you so much, Ernie. Jay Jones. Wow, man. Jay Jones beat. I mean, that's a huge turnaround for Jay Jones. He was underwater. That's a 5-point turnaround. That's remarkable. Abigail Spanberger nearly more than like 13 points. My God. And Ghazala Hashmi won. If folks, this Democratic leadership, you could always have faith in the Democratic establishment to take the wrong lessons, and that's what I'm afraid of. They will do everything in their power to say that Spanberger and the moderates are the way forward. And what you saw instead was, I'll tell you in Virginia, because I'm in Virginia, right? I moved there 13 years ago from my wife, who's better looking than me and makes more money than me. The reason why, if you've been watching the Left Hook, why I thought they would pull off the trifecta, and I think I even said this today, I think Jay Jones would squeak by. The government shutdown. The government shutdown, folks, has truly Cheryl 14 points. Jesse, wow, the new governor of New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill, she beat him by 14 points. That was a tight race. Corporate media said that was a tight race. In Virginia, folks, the pain is severe. The government has been shut down. People have not gotten paychecks. Furthermore, reports came out today that Trump is planning on not paying them back pay, just to be cruel, right? So I was talking to folks. I shared the story earlier today when I did my talks with the Ruth Ben Ghiat and Lev Parnas. I was talking to a guy, educated guy, uh, civil servant, went to Harvard. He's like, "Man, I haven't gotten paid. I have a family. What am I going to do?" And now imagine, he said, the people who are a little bit below me, the lower ranks. He said, imagine he gave me a rank in the government, and he said these people get paid $70,000, right? It's tough to survive on $70,000 in Virginia. They don't have a paycheck. And furthermore, Trump is now saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to give him back pay," just to be cruel, because Russell Vought, the shadow president of the Trump administration, the co-author of Project 2025, a white Christian nationalist, what did he say? Remember his quote? "I want these workers to experience trauma." That's what he said. And Trump has embraced him, and Russell Vaughn wants to crush the government. And as there's a furlough, and as there's a shutdown, he's still eliminating workers, right, from 6 agencies. The cruelty is the point, right? They have the money, they choose not to fund it. Just like SNAP, two judges said that you have to fully fund SNAP, and then Donald Trump initially said, "I partially fund it," and now he's going back on it because this is who they are. So why do I bring this up? In Virginia, hundreds of thousands of people in the DMV, DC, Virginia, Maryland, they work at the government or they're contractors, right? That's their business. They don't have money. And so I said, man, they don't realize that they have radicalized all these Virginians. Virginia's like a purple state. It's like blurple. All these folks came out. Did you see what they said? Why'd you vote? Yeah. My family's hurt. The government shut down. We blame Republicans. Spanberger, she seems to care. We just voted Democrat. So the Republicans, in their greed, in their cruelty, in their callous disregard, literally farted away. They farted away a Miaris win. Miaris was coasting to victory because Jay Jones, as lieutenant governor, who was embroiled in this really stupid listen, if you're watching, if you're a Democrat running for office, don't text stupid shit to your Republican colleagues. They will stab you in the back. Jay Jones did that, and folks, everyone said it was Miaris's to win. But he won even by larger than half a point. It seems that based on what I'm seeing, what you all showed me is like 5 points. It's because Virginians are suffering. And furthermore, every single district in Virginia went blue. Every single district voted blue. You got the trifecta. You got Ghazala Hashmi, lieutenant governor. You got Jones, attorney general. You got Spanberger, first female governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. You have all of them swinging blue. You see all the polls came out that Donald Trump, his unfavorability rating is at 60+%. Number one issue for people is the economy. He's negative double digits on the economy, negative 30, negative 20 points on jobs, trade, tariffs. And these mother effers thought, you know what? Let's host a Great Gatsby party. Let's host a Roaring Twenties party. Let's not give a shit at all. And let's also give $40 billion to Milei in Argentina. And let's give Kristi Noem $172 million jet for her and her boyfriend to cosplay. And let Cash Patel take a $60 million jet to meet his honeypot girlfriend with taxpayer money. And the people will take it. And the people said, F you. F you, Republicans, we're not going to take it, right? And that's Virginia. Now let's go to New Jersey, right? It's supposed to be a close race. It's going to be tight. Oh no, they poured so much money into it, and you knew it was bad because if you're on social media, all the Republicans do is cheat. All they do is whine and complain. Then they were talking about, oh, voting booths are under attack by the leftists. Just spreading all these bullshit conspiracy theories. Have you noticed whenever they lose, it's rigged? Whenever Donald Trump wins, for somehow it's not rigged, even when Democrats are in control. It was 2016. Who was president? Obama. Maybe you should have rigged it to keep Trump out. But no, anytime he loses, it's rigged. Anytime he wins, it's perfectly normal, right? So now, exactly Casey Science said, stop chasing the squirrel. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. So not only was it not close, Mickey Sherrill, she won by 14 points. That was a shellacking. That was a shellacking, folks. And then let's go up. We're just going up. We're going up from Virginia all the way up. We started from California, went to Virginia, we went to New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Let's make a pit stop in Pennsylvania before we get to New York. Millions of dollars were spent, just like millions of dollars were spent in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, right? Elon Musk had spent more than $20 million in that race to flip it. And what happened? That was your first rebuke. The liberal judge won by double-digit points. I think it was 11%. I think it was 11%, right? And so now Pennsylvania, this was like kind of a under the radar race that I think should have gotten more attention because a lot was riding on this, right? To ensure that the, if you will, non-MAGA freaks take over the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And so far, folks, just correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm in California. I got back from a speech right now. I'm just looking up at all the data. It seems like they got it. It seems like the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is they lost. The MAGA lost. All those millions of dollars gone. And in California, we were expecting a Prop 50 to pass 60 to 40, and that was me being a bit bullish. 65-35. 65-35, folks. And now let's take the DeLorean up to New York. I love New York. New York is my home away from home. New York accepted me when I was a young writer trying to put on my play. Everyone said New York's going to eat you and spit you out. And instead, the community always embraced me. Fantastic memories in New York. I love New York. I am. I'm romantic about New York, and I'm biased towards New York. And I remember, folks, when I was a 20-year-old UC Berkeley student, I was part of the Muslim Student Association. Now, some dark humor here. If Muslims had known 9/11 would happen, I would have not. I would have never joined the Muslim Student Association. I would have joined the Indian Student Association and learned how to code and do bhangra. But F my life, I joined the Muslim Student Association where I was elected as like one of the board members, right? So the two towers fall. The two towers fall, and I see them fall in my pajamas from my UC Berkeley apartment. And right there was a fork in the timeline. There is a pre 9/11 and a post 9/11. And for my generation, we got radicalized during the war on terror, just like this generation globally has been radicalized by Gaza. And if you were Muslim or Muslimi, you were a target. People forget this country lost its damn mind. We canceled the Dixie Chicks. What's her name? Natalie Maines, the lead singer of the main chick. All she said was, "I'm embarrassed that George W. Bush is from Texas. Bye, y'all." That's all she said. And they literally burned their CDs and took tractors over their CDs. They even canceled that piece of shit Bill Maher because he made a comment. They canceled Susan Sontag. Like, we canceled French fries, folks. We canceled French fries, and we called them freedom fries. The country lost its mind, right? And we did the war on terror, rampant Islamophobia, FBI showing up, arresting people, mass surveillance against innocent Muslim American communities in New York by the NYPD. You all remember that? The AP broke it, got a Pulitzer, found zero actionable causes, all that time, all that money wasted. Never talked about white nationalism or white supremacy, but they were going to Muslim Student Association students, like infiltrating these camps, infiltrating like markets, mosques, right? That's what was happening, folks. And then you had Donald Trump. Donald Trump led the birther conspiracy against our first black president, Barack Obama. And I want you all to remember that in 2007, leading up to the election, when it was a primary, even the Democrats, you all remember what the Democrats said? I'll take him at his word that he's not Muslim. It wasn't just Mitch McConnell and the Republicans. It was also the Democrats, right? That Islamophobia mixed in with anti-black racism. And who was the cheerleader of the birther conspiracy? Donald Trump, right? So now that got mainstream. And a lot of Americans throughout Obama's 8 years thought he was Muslim. He's not Muslim. If he is Muslim, he's the worst Muslim on earth. Eats bacon, drinks alcohol, says he's a Christian. Yeah, worst Muslim ever. Why do I mention this? Because this is what we've had to endure, right? I'm taking you on this DeLorean trip. Just trust me. The ending will be worth it, right? So as this is happening, and as Islamophobia is mainstreamed and is promoted and condoned by Democrats, and Bill Maher, that piece of shit, was always anti-Arab, always anti-Palestinian, always anti-Muslim, and the rest of us said it. We're like, folks, call in Bill Maher and these others. You're mainstreaming Islamophobia. It seems to be like the last refuge of all bigots. But even Democrats and liberals were like, he's okay. He's good. He hates all religion. But I digress. Donald Trump becomes president, the same dude who did the birther conspiracy, right? You see Keith Ellison, in the meantime, become the first and only elected Muslim American official. We only had one. Happened after 9/11. It was Keith Ellison. There was only one. The hazing that Keith Ellison went through. Y'all remember that? Glenn Beck making him like swear allegiance and loyalty to America. Is pretty much what happened to JFK when he was Catholic. They said, "Are you more loyal to the Pope or to America?" And that's the type of shit that Keith Ellison had to go through, right? You swear you don't have allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood? Do you swear that you don't have allegiance to Sharia? Right? And then as Donald Trump was running, you all remember, he said, I'm going to call for a complete and total ban on Muslims. We have to figure out what the hell's going on. And then Ben Carson before him said, I will not have a Muslim in my administration unless he rejects Sharia. All this got mainstream, right? I haven't even talked about the Ground Zero Mosque in New York, which was neither a mosque nor at Ground Zero, but that was in 2011 2010, a manufactured crisis by the right wing. Millions of dollars were spent on that Islamophobic, manufactured, hateful lie. It became a local issue, a national issue, and an international issue. And it got Republican freaks and extremists elected to the midterm elections in 2010. There was anti-Sharia legislation from 2010 to 2014. You all remember that? That got people elected. All bullshit. A problem, a solution in search of a problem, right? We need to ban Sharia. It's like someone said, I remember one time, I think it was Reza Aslan, he goes, it's about as useful as an anti-Bigfoot legislation. But the entire goal was to demonize and dehumanize Muslims, make them into an other. And it got people elected. I remember in the 2012 election, nearly every single Republican presidential candidate, except Mitt Romney, because he's a Mormon, and Jones, the guy from Texas, because he had Muslims supporting him, they all ran on the anti-Sharia legislation bullcrap, right? So that all paves the way to Donald Trump, who's just openly Islamophobic. I think Islam hates us, Muslim ban. The first thing that the Trump administration did when they got into office, specifically Steve Bannon. And Bruno says, you go fast. I do. I think fast. I talk fast. And I also don't want to bore you people. I think boring an audience is a sin. And this is just top of the head. First thing they did, Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller, they tried to pass the Muslim ban. All of this gets normalized, right? Now, as this is happening, in addition to Keith Ellison, we also get Andre Carson. Andre Carson gets elected. We also get Ilhan Omar. We get Rashida Tlaib. And you all have seen how Rashida Tlaib has been treated. You all have seen how Ilhan Omar has been treated, because Ilhan Omar is the trifecta. She's black, she's a Muslim woman, she wears hijab. She's also an immigrant, originally a refugee. So she is the wet dream of hate mongers and racists. I mean, on her, they projected everything: Islamophobia, anti-black racism, misogynoir, anti-immigrant stuff. To this day, she gets hazed. And when I interviewed Ilhan Omar a couple years ago for Daily Beast, it was 2.5 years ago, she said the Democratic establishment, Chuck Schumer, she said it. Go check it out. The Daily Beast interview I did with her said he has not had a robust defense of me. You know, they don't come out and support me. And you remember they tried to isolate themselves from the squad, right? But Ilhan Omar, they fed her. I mean, the Democratic establishment fed her to the wolves. She's had to fend for herself. Like Chuck Schumer threw her under the bus at AIPAC. All right. So that's what Ilhan Omar still has to endure. Rashida Tlaib in the past 2 years, you see what she's had to endure. Remember that horrific editorial cartoon where they had that beeper go off, and that was supposed to be hilarious, right? The same act of terrorism, not my words, Leon Panetta's words, that Israel did with the pagers in Lebanon, and they had the pager go off with Rashida Tlaib. That's what she had to deal with, right? And now you have Latifah Simon. So you have Latifah Simon, Andre Carson, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. Four. Total of four Muslim Americans elected. No senators. You had a Muslim president. I'm kidding. And then you got Keith Ellison, who's in Minnesota, I think, as Attorney General. And now you have Mamdani. All right. So as this is happening, I just want you all to just think about this. We go to New York, where 24 years ago, 19 foreign hijackers brought down the two towers. 19 foreign Muslim hijackers, 15 of them from Saudi Arabia. Zoran Mamdani was not one of them. I was not one of them, right? The overwhelming majority of Muslims in America weren't them. Nearly all Muslim Americans, I should say. No Muslim New Yorker. They're all 19 foreign hijackers, 15 of them from Saudi Arabia, right? And in 2025, leading up to this election, Zoran Mamdani, simply for being brown, simply for being Muslim, he was a kid, Natasha. I think he was probably like 7 years old, maybe? No, 9 years old. Simply for being brown, simply for being Muslim, they have equated him with 9/11. They said Mamdani on the plane going to the towers. Have you seen that cartoon? They see Mamdani beheading the Statue of Liberty. They call Mamdani Hamas. They call him ISIS. It doesn't matter. That's what bigotry does. It flattens us. It erases us. It dehumanizes us. Right? Mamdani is brown and he's Muslim, and even though he's an immigrant and born abroad but raised in New York and was a kid, it has nothing to do with 9/11. He's Muslim. And you saw Andrew Cuomo openly say, "Well, can you imagine if he was in charge during 9/11? What does that even mean?" And then you saw the Washington Post post this article last week. Look what Sadiq Khan did to London. What do you think will happen with New York? And you're like, Sadiq Khan? London? What does that have to do? What? And even in that piece of shit article, thank God it got totally ratioed in the comments section because everyone came out and said, didn't the conservatives do Brexit? And didn't conservatives F everything up? But what he was saying, and this was published in the Washington Post, was Sadiq Khan, brown Muslim. Zoran Mamdani, brown Muslim. So I'm saying all this because I'm petty tonight. I'm saying all this because I'm a 45-year-old man who just celebrated his 45th birthday on November 1st. I'm saying all this because I've got gray hair. I'm saying all this because this has been my life. I've been going through it for 24 years. I've been fighting it. I've been writing about it. I did a report on Islamophobia. I've called out these hate mongers. I've tried my best to warn folks. I am petty as F. I have been following the meltdowns leading up to this election by neckbeard Matt Walsh, by Michael Rappaport, by Bill Maher, by Laura Loomer, by Mark Levine, and by Randy Fine, hardcore Islamophobe. And it has been beautiful. It has been delicious. I have said, and I'll say again, that their tears are sugar for my chai. And friends, I had my chai tonight. Just had it, came back. I put some extra sugar in there. I mean, if I had put all their tears in there, I would have died of having a friggin' diabetic coma. So I had to like hold back. But we should take this moment to really enjoy this day because it is something historic. If you were lucky enough, you saw, and I'm not romantic when it comes to politics. You know this about me. Politicians are tools. I believe they're tools to be used to better the people. You sharpen the tool, you push them to do the best they can, and if they become dull, you replace them. So I never idol worshipped Obama. I never idol worshipped Mamdani. Obama, to me, wasn't that disappointing because he behaved exactly like I thought he would, like a center leftist who was too accommodationist. But there is something to be said. There is something to be said about living long enough in this country that elected a rapist, white supremacist criminal, to then turn around and elect a Muslim American mayor who is an immigrant. There is something to be said. When I was that age, when Obama was elected, I think I was what, 27? I remember, folks, I said, we'll eventually have a black or POC president, but probably not in my lifetime. America's too racist. And George W. Bush effed up things so bad that America was like, let's give this black Muslim Obama a try. And I remember I went to UC Berkeley. I was in Fremont covering the elections, just, doing what I can do in my. Allison is saying she could maybe rally. Hold on. Let me try to get Allison on. Let me see, guys. I know this is going to be weird. Can you all hear me? Give me a second. Allison, come on. Here. Add Allison. Bueller. All right, here we go. We're back. I remember when Obama was elected, I drove to Berkeley, my alma mater, UC Berkeley, because that's kind of where we marched against the war. That's where we kind of earned our political stripes, and I just wanted to be with that community. And I remember there was joy. There was just a lot of joy. And again, folks, I'm a pragmatist. I didn't think everything would be better, but just to see Obama be elected to replace that piece of shit George W. Bush, and today to make it even more, Dick Cheney is dead. Now, I was raised well, and I was taught, you only say something good after someone dies. Dick Cheney is dead. Good. Very good. That's all I'll say. So Dick Cheney dying, Mamdani winning, Virginia having a trifecta, Pennsylvania holding on to that Supreme Court, a New Jersey governor, Mickey Sherrill, shows you that the tent of the Democrats is big, and that people are fed up with the oligarchy. They're fed up with the corruption. They want affordability. I believe Donald Trump has overplayed his hand. Uh, and I believe we can enjoy this moment. And when it comes to Mamdani in particular, especially, you don't have to be young. I think, I wish I could share some photos. There's some fantastic photos and videos that, I'm on WhatsApp, brown WhatsApp, Muslim WhatsApp. People are just sending photos and videos of like these photos they took when Mamdani won, and they're just showing their family members and like kids joy, like ecstatic when it was called. Like these great photos. I wish I could share with you, but they're private, right? Like all these people are just sending it to me. The type of joy that Muslims have right now, and you don't have to be Muslim. Just like I'm just telling you from a perspective of a Muslim, a brown skinned person who literally has to see the fact that this country voted for a racist, Islamophobic president. Really see the fact that for the past 2 weeks, an article came out today of the 37,000 anti-Muslim posts on Twitter, like 80% of them are directed against Mamdani openly. And we're seeing this openly, like Bill Maher, Randy Fine, like Ted Cruz. Like these are elected officials, man. Things are so bad with Mamdani, folks. I know this might sound crazy. Uh, George W. Bush was a terrible president. But even George W. Bush, after 9/11, remember his speech? He said, Islam is not our enemy. Muslim Americans, we want you here. If George W. Bush ran for office in 2025 as a Republican, they would reject him for being a Muslim lover. All right. This type of stuff is so egregious. It used to be only in the fringe. You see Cuomo saying it, personality saying it. Deborah Messing has lost her mind. She's a hot mess. Oh, I love it. She has lost her mind. It is awesome. Rappaport has lost his mind. Laura Loomer's melting down. Neckbeard, Matt Walsh is melting down. It is so glorious. Hey, Allison got out of bed literally. You missed me, Allison. I just did a 10-minute DeLorean from 9/11 to New York back full circle and talked about the rampant Islamophobia, anti-Muslim bigotry, hazing that Muslim Americans and Muslim elected officials have to still go through, and the fact that Mamdani endured all of that, plus all the billionaires throwing money at him, plus AIPAC and ADL attacking him, plus Senator Chuck Schumer still not endorsing him, plus all of corporate media trying their best to make it a tight race, and Zoran Mamdani is close to having a double-digit victory over Andrew Cuomo, the first Muslim American mayor of New York. When I interviewed him 8 months ago, Allison, he was a distant number two. He stayed on message, didn't throw anyone under the bus, didn't throw immigrants under the bus, was at a gay bar at 1 a.m. telling people to vote. I think that was yesterday. Never was ashamed of his Muslim identity, never ashamed of his immigrant identity. Released an ad in Arabic this week, despite all the Islamophobia and anti-Arab bias, and the people came out. Let's start from there and your thoughts on the night.
First of all, you're in almost a suit. What's going on?
I had to give a talk.
Ah,
Don't get used to it.
Oh, I will not. I've never seen you, so how could I get used to it? I've never seen you in a suit. I think that the thing that stood out to me the most in Mamdani's speech, first of all, congratulations, everyone. This was a hard-fought victory, a well-fought victory. The Democrats did a clean sweep across the board. But the thing that stood out to me in Mamdani's speech, as opposed to Newsom, who, by the way, we won Prop 50 in California.
65 to 35.
Yes, but the thing that stood out to me about Mamdani was that the first group of people that he mentioned wasn't Jewish people, wasn't Muslims. He mentioned the trans community.
Mm,
And he said, I'm tired of people and throwing our trans community under the bus. And that has long been a problem for me with what Newsom is doing and what some more centrist or corporate or establishment Democrats have been doing. And that like rang in my soul
mm,
because of my family, my friends, and the people that I care about. And the fact that he brought them up first, and then he brought up the Jewish community, and then he brought up the Muslims, and then he brought up like pretty much everybody else in the community. And the part where he said, "If you want to come after us, you have to go through us," instead of saying, "If you want to come after us, you have to go through me." He said, "If you want to come after us, you have to go through us."
mm,
And that
that's great.
that community, that incredible idea of all of us together, standing together, uh, made that speech just truly incredible and amazing and fantastic. And while I did appreciate Gavin Newsom's speech, and I did appreciate, and I loved Abigail Spanberger's speech, and I loved Mikey Sherrill's speech. I have to say that Mamdani's speech really spoke, I think, to the larger community of Democrats and said, this is our party, and welcomed everybody into the party and didn't alienate anyone from the Democratic Party, particularly those on the left, which are constantly and continually alienated by corporate Democrats, really stood out to me. And I stood up and cheered at least 10 times during
And,
during his speech.
And I'm catching it all late because I couldn't see the speech because I was in a talk with Gil Duran in the Bay Area of the Nerd Reich addressing it. We had a sold out crowd. People were ecstatic. We were sharing the news from the stage on our talk about how to fight back against fascism, and
That
people were
must
just
have been
ecstatic.
amazing. That must have been
Yeah,
amazing. Just win after win after win after win after win.
yeah, I was
No
sharing it. They were
Republicans
like,
won.
"Whoa, oh, ah!" It was awesome. It was awesome. And there's this quote. Mamdani said, "New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant." And I echoed the same, Allison, and I even said that on the stage today. What Mamdani did. He didn't throw anyone under the bus. He didn't throw anyone under the bus. He didn't throw the trans community under the bus. He didn't throw immigrants under the bus. He didn't throw Muslims under the bus. He didn't throw black people under the bus. He didn't throw Jews under the bus. He stayed on message. He stood for something, and they attacked him. And the reason why, if I may, with Gavin Newsom, because I'm in California, right? So someone asked me this question, well, what do you think about Gavin Newsom? Do you think he's the leader? And I said, I think Gavin Newsom, as of right now, he fails what I think are three litmus tests. The three litmus tests, I think, for a Democratic leader nationally is: are you going to go up against the oligarchy or not? He's tethered to the Silicon Valley bros here. Number two, are you going to come correct on Israel and call out a genocide and say enough to this nonsense? He stalled in his answer. He goes, "Ibdi, ibdi, ibdi." When he was talking to Van Lathan, the good Van, he said, "That's interesting. You talk about this. That's interesting. I
The
find it
good van,
interesting."
Van Jones being the bad van.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I said that to Van Lathan, and he accepts it. By the way, and then the third thing that I think he doesn't come correct on is the flip flop. And this audience remembered that Gavin Newsom, after Trump won, on his podcast, on Gavin Newsom's podcast, the first person he invited was Steve Bannon. The second person he invited was Charlie Kirk, and he threw LGBTQ folks under the bus, and he flip-flops. And so what Mamdani did is he ran on a message of affordability, which is the winning message. The lane is wide open, Democrats. It's wide open, especially as income inequality is increasing and the economy is going to turn to shit. I guarantee you people will be very well acquainted with the term broligarchy. Secondly, he didn't throw anyone under the bus. He raised everyone. Number three, he fought. He said, I'll fight. And number four, he did shoe leather, old school politics. He didn't take any vote for granted, Allison, which is a mistake that the DNC made, even with Kamala Harris. And then on the fifth part, he called out the genocide. And he got young Jewish voters. Young Jewish voters, the New York Times said, are for Mamdani, not in spite of it, because of his views on Israel and Palestine. And he gives you a clear lane. Like, you don't have to be a democratic socialist. You don't have to be as progressive as him. That's fine. But those planks that he did not deviate from throughout his campaign when he was a distant number two have now made him almost a double-digit victor over Andrew Cuomo and the first Muslim American mayor of one of the greatest cities on earth.
Yeah, and the fact that he, I think, is projected to win over 50% of the vote is going to be very
Mm,
important. If he had won under 50% of the vote, then you would have all these centrists and people, people coming out and saying, "Oh, if it weren't for Sliwa being in the race, it would have been, he would have lost, or it's not a mandate, or whatever." So I think that that's very important. And the fact that he didn't not just not throw anybody under the bus. He actually invited everybody in. He did the opposite of throwing anyone under the bus. That was hugely important when it comes to Jews, to Muslims. He quoted former Prime Minister of India. He quoted LaGuardia. He brought everybody into the tent. And I think that that's probably why Obama called him before the election and said, I'm not endorsing, I don't endorse people. He just never endorsed a mayor except for Karen Bass when she was super close to that one Republican. But I support what you're doing. I support your campaign and I support how it's working. And I think the fact that what Mamdani did, going door to door, finding out what people cared about and running on that, is the same reason Mikey Sherrill won in a very different district and a very different group of voters. But they went door to door to find out what people wanted and ran on that. And why Spanberger, same thing. Like, that's why we see people from all sides of all aisles in at least in the Democratic tent being able to come together and voting for these. And I'm going to go ahead and say mandate, because I know
yeah.
Donald Trump thinks he won by a mandate in 2024, but he did not. It was a point, maybe a point and a half. So this 10-point victory and Mikey Sherrill's 14-point victory, and these things kind of show what a mandate actually is. And the legislature in Virginia, and the trifecta in Virginia, the attorney general, lieutenant governor, governor, and Rachel John Faza said, young women
Oh
are the
yeah.
story of tonight. 81% for Mamdani, 80% for Mikey Sherrill,
Wow.
78% for
Wow.
Spanberger, 78% for Spanberger. Young women are the story of tonight. So it's not just young
Can I tell you the
people.
polls on young men? Check out the polls on young men. The young women are just thank you. Young women, respect. Uh, Young men, 18 to 29. Check it out. Virginia Spanberger plus 14. Cheryl plus 10. New Jersey. Mamdani plus 40.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's massive. And I think anyone who was reluctant, what Mamdani showed us tonight, at least Mamdani, but anybody who's running on what the people want showed us tonight, is that being on the fence isn't the way to go. Being trepidatious, kind of tiptoeing around, well, should I go right? Should I go left? Because, for a very long time, Waj, a lot of people have been asking, oh, if I go too far left, I'll alienate the center. And I think that what
Mm,
Mamdani specifically, particularly showed tonight is that when you move left, or just be authentically who you are, or just authentically campaign on what the people who you've spoken to want, you don't alienate the center. And Obama saw that, and I think that's why he called Mamdani and said, "I'm with you. I'm a sounding board. Change, what You,
that's very good. That's a good Obama. That's well
being
done.
Obama." I was like, "Well, I've got a Obama tattoo. I've known
Oh,
about him for a while."
Allison.
No,
The best
change is
Allison.
important. It's going, but what he showed is that it's okay to embrace the left wing of the
Mm,
Democratic Party and still retain the center of the Democratic Party. I mean, if I've been so angry and so frustrated, I think so many Democrats have for so long, that they're trying to throw the left wing of the party under the bus,
mm.
or throw our trans friends under the bus, throw our Muslim friends under the bus, not capitulate to APAC enough, or whatever it is, that they move so much to the center and so much to the right, that they think that that will somehow win you an election. Where what actually wins you elections is by embracing the entirety of the Democratic Party, including the left and the progressives. and
Can
that we
I
can
give you
all,
some more numbers? Oh, sorry. Continue,
yeah,
please.
and that we can all exist in in this tent together.
Well,
You
and
don't have
my
to.
fear is my Gil and I were Gil and I tweeted this and Gil on his own brought this up. Gil Duran of Nerdreich, he was in
Oh God.
conversation with me. Gil said, "How will Democrats f this up? Democratic leadership, right? Taking the wrong lessons." And I want to give you some more numbers. Spanberger, right? Won by double digits. First female governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. All right. White people. 45% of whites voted for Spanberger. Uh, you know how many percentage of black people voted for her? 90%. People of color coming out is what gave Spanberger the double digit victory. Okay, Mickey, Carroll, double digit victory in New Jersey. 45% of white people voted for her, 54% voted against her. Why did she get the double digit victory? Check out these numbers 91% black, 64% Latino, going back to those numbers like Mike Madrid told us, 81% Asian, 51% other.
So why do
That's what.
people think we need to move to the right or the center? What makes people think? Is it money? Is it lobbyists? Is it just a feeling, like a weird feeling of it's 2008? Like, I don't understand.
It's whiteness.
Uh,
It's
and I think that
restoration.
I hope that tonight speaks loudly and clearly to the fact that we don't need to move to the center. We need to move to the left.
Absolutely.
Uh, and what I'm just so happy about what happened tonight. I'm so excited about it, and I really hope that the Democratic establishment takes into account what happened tonight. I think most of them are, but I think there are some like the Clintons or the Cuomo backers. But by the way, could you have asked for a better gift than Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
And Stephen Miller.
Did Stephen Miller endorse Cuomo as well? Yeah. Could you ask for a better gift? And is that enough of a message? How hard do you have to be punched in the face? Do you have to be hit with an exploding sandwich in order for you to understand that
Uh, I
that
sent
the
I did
way.
the type when I was inviting Allison and she was so I tried to I'm really proud. I feel kind of bad because like an hour ago I was like, Allison, I'm on the West Coast, you're on the West Coast, let's go live. She goes, I'm so tired. No, I'm in bed. And she goes, we have to talk about Virginia and New York. And then I accidentally spelled Virginia as vagina. And then, and Allison's like, only if we could laugh about vagina. And I said, you talking about meat sandwiches has me talking about vaginas. Let's talk about meat sandwiches and vagina. And so we went there, Allison. We went there. And so we literally got Allison out of bed and she was like, must sleep. Okay, we'll talk.
Yeah, I recorded like, so we're doing this thing. We're about to, Dana and I for the Daily Beans are about to uh do a new video podcast, right? And it's
Awesome.
it's different from the Daily Beans. It's not just ripping the audio from the Daily Beans or ripping the video from the Daily Beans and making a new podcast. We're actually recording a whole separate video podcast. And today Dana's out. She's traveling. She's going to go raise money for reproductive rights. You know, Dana has raised over $70 million in her
Wow.
tenure at raising money for these causes. And so it's just me by myself, and I'm recording this video, and it's just for our paid subscribers for the first month, and then we're going to start recording it and releasing it to the public because we want to get all the feedback from our paid subscribers first. And today, all I did was a dramatic reading of the Sandwich Guy trial, which happened, and there was actually a point where the defense attorney like pointed at the cop who got hit by a sandwich and showed a photo of the sandwich on the ground and said, "Do you recognize this sandwich?" And I was just dying. And so I did all that today. And in the shadow of that, I'm watching these election results. And then you contact me and say, "Hey, we need to do a Vijaya thing." And I'm like, okay, meat sandwich, throwing my meat sandwich at point blank range, and also this. Okay, I can totally do it. I will get out of bed. I got up out of bed
She
to
literally,
be
she
here
was
to
in
record
bed.
this.
She literally, and folks, some other good news. Canceled, as we mentioned, I was talking about some of the other races before you came on. Virginia, complete trifecta, and I was
Yeah.
kind of I was predicting that we'll talk about Virginia in a second. I just want to give some people some other good news. Pennsylvania Democrats win the Supreme Court. Republicans spent millions on that race. That was huge. Prop 50 wins. Californians say, F you, Donald Trump. We want fighters. You're going to redistrict? All right, mother effer. We're going to gain 5 seats again. Demons win at Jersey, double-digit win by Cheryl. You have Mamdani's win. Maine vote restricting measure loses. JD's half-brother loses on Ohio. Mwah, mwah. Also, Georgia Democrats flip 2 statewide offices, and Krasner and Bragg win. Folks, this is why the title of this is not a blue wave. This is
60
a
to
blue.
40. 60 to 40. They flipped those Georgia statewide races for election commissions. And the fact that we held those Supreme Court justices in Pennsylvania is going to really make a difference in voting issues when they come up, right? When the Republicans try to sue for voting issues. And the election commission in Georgia is really going to make a difference when elections come up in Georgia. But just the whole thing from the left to the right to the center, understanding what happened in New York with Mamdani and understanding what happened with Prop 50 and Newsom, everyone is opposed to this autocratic regime. And I think that that's what it boils down to. And I think that this shows us that everyone is welcome. And the more we fight with each other and the more we have these arguments about you're a liberal, you're progressive, you're a blue MAGA, you're a vote blue no matter who, you're a this, you're a centrist, you're a never Trumper. I think what today showed us is that everyone is welcome in this tent and we can kick the shit out of this regime if we all work together.
I was just about to post. And before you came in, I said, I wish I could share these fantastic photos and videos on Muslim and brown WhatsApp, South Asian WhatsApp, of people they just shared photos and videos of them seeing the election results come in and seeing Mamdani win. There's such a joy, folks. And I think it's necessary because I know it's a joy for everyone, a majority, not everyone. The greatest tears. Oh, Allison, I took all the tears, the meltdown. I don't know if you're on Twitter right now. The meltdown of MAGA is the most beautiful meltdown. They are losing their minds. Deborah Messing is a hot mess. Michael Rappaport is losing it. Neckbeard
Wait,
Matt
Deborah
Walsh is
Messing's
gone.
a mess? Why is she a mess?
Oh, she's a hardcore right-wing nutty Zionist. You don't know that?
I had no idea. And
Oh,
that explains a lot.
Messing has lost the plot the past year and I mean, she's crashed out. Exactly, Natasha, crashed out. Randy Fine losing it. Shapiro losing it. Losing it. They're just gone. Laura Loomer's gone. And all of their tears are sugar for my chai. And I think it's something, where all this horrific anti-Muslim bigotry, because that's all they had, Allison. All they had in the final 2 weeks is hate and racism, with photos of Mamdani chopping off the head of the Statue of Liberty, saying he's Hamas.
I remember the New York Post being like, his aloof wife who doesn't speak to it was so desperate and sad, wasn't it?
And they lost. And I think this is, I was telling people, because you have the Obama tattoo before you joined, I was telling people, I'm not, I don't fangirl the elected officials. I don't idolize any politician. But I remember, even with Obama, what he represented in that time when he had so much pain, the war on terror, the Islamophobia, the 2008 economic crisis, Katrina. And I never thought this country, this self-destructive racist country that suffers from amnesia, would ever elect a black man. And the fact that Obama won, I mean, there was a feeling, right? And I told myself then, I told everyone, just enjoy this feeling, just enjoy it. And I feel like for this generation, Mamdani is that feeling. A guy came out of nowhere, a young guy who speaks their language, who was a distant number 2 in the entire establishment, threw everything. Allison, they threw a Bill Clinton and they still lost. He still won.
Yeah. Well, when I got this was actually when Obama won the Iowa caucus.
I remember that.
And that day we learned that it was definitely going to be either a black man or a woman representing one of the major party tickets, candidates.
Oh, yeah.
For president. And so it wasn't necessarily about Obama himself. It was about the idea that America was ready for either a black man or a woman to run as a candidate on a major party ticket. And I also have, this is, a lot of people give me shit about this. This is Mueller walking in to testify into Congress. And it wasn't about Mueller himself. He fucked up a lot of shit, don't get me wrong. The idea was that there was actually an investigation going on to check, the ties between what Russia was doing and Trump. So these are symbolic things to me.
Yeah.
And I thought that the election of Obama, I remember being at the Democratic National Convention for Kamala Harris and thinking about the fact when AOC spoke, when she delivered her speech at the DNC this past year, and being reminded of when a young Obama that no one had ever heard of delivered his
Yep.
speech in 2004.
I,
And how
I
in
remember that.
2004, when we lost, we were all like, that's it. It's the end of the world. Everything is awful and horrible. Now, obviously, this is worse than that. But that's what I was reminded of. And I've since been saying, keep your eye on AOC. Keep your eye on candidates like AOC.
That's right.
That is our 2028 Obama. That is these are the young people like Mamdani, like AOC, that gave speeches 4 years before the presidential election that was extremely important as it was in 2008. And it only took about, I think, 3 hours after polls closed in California for Obama to be declared the winner. But tonight, Prop 50 was declared yes, winning yes, the minute the polls closed. I've never seen anything like that in California.
Nope. Nope.
California usually takes weeks and weeks and weeks to
Done.
count all of our things. Mikey Sherrill, all of Mamdani within 20 minutes, I think. Decision desk called it for Mamdani. To see these races called within a half an hour of polls closing in California when polls closed was, I've never seen anything like it. I have never seen
It
anything
was resounding.
like it.
I thought we would still be talking about it, and then like 10 minutes in, they're like, no, Mamdani's got it. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like that ever, even in 2008 with Obama, or in 2018 when we had that huge tsunami where we flipped like 50 seats in the House. It took weeks, right? And that kind of buried the lead. And that's when James Carville came out the night of that. He's like, oh, it looks like the Democrats underperformed. Q. And it turns out it was like one of the biggest Democratic flips in the history of the
It was,
United
oh, look,
States.
it looks like a rough night for Democrats. Looks like a rough night for Democrats. Oh, man, they just didn't show up, man. And then we're like, shut the F up, Crypt Keeper. And an hour
He
later, boom.
wrecked that shit. And every time I get an email that says "Earth to Allison" from James Carville, I get so mad. But I'm like, yeah, Earth to James Carville. But
Can
I've
I
never
give you
seen
some
anything
numbers?
like it.
Can I give you some numbers?
Please.
Dems on track to win at least 64 Virginia House of Delegate seats with
64.
64 with two outstanding. Also, Mary Sheffield is the first woman to be elected mayor of Detroit in the city's 324-year history.
Mm.
Wow. Women ain't messing around. Well, white 45% of white women, like I always say, I love you. 45% of white women. The other 55, I don't know. But the
Oh,
45%,
I had a
you're doing it right.
whole thing for the 2024 election. My whole job was to go out and talk to fellow white women and be like, WTF? Like, what? How did 53% of registered white women voters vote for Donald Trump?
Oh.
Can we not do that again? Or
And they're like, no, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. I want to ask you about this last race, then I'll let you sleep. Let's bring it down to where I live now, Virginia. Folks, we just mentioned that 64, two outstanding, just every county in Blurple, Virginia went blue. All right. Trifecta. I was seeing it on the ground when it comes to Virginia. You know how this about vibes? I remember I also called Glenn Youngkin, and my friends were like, no, man, McCullough's got it. I'm like, nah, The vibes, I don't feel it. I think he's going to win by 2 points, and he won by 2 points. I was feeling the vibes, Allison. I was saying this before you got on. For those who aren't super nerds and follow these races, everyone thought Spanberger would win by 8 points. She won by double-digit points. Hashmi, we thought she'd win with Jay Jones and Miaris. And I think I was looking at this
Mikey
race.
Sherrill, it was like 2 or 3 points.
There you go. Miaris, this was his race to lose. Miaris apparently had this because Jay Jones, about a month ago, was embroiled in a scandal because when he was a state delegate, like an idiot, he sent like a ridiculous tweet, text message to a Republican colleague. Never send ridiculous tweets, messages to a Republican colleague. And it was like, he was just imagining violence, but not really. It was just figurative. But nonetheless, you know how Republicans are. So they weaponized this. They went all in. And Jay Jones was flipped. It was Miaris's race. He was up 3 points. And then I noticed a shift. And I noticed a shift in 3 weeks because 3 weeks ago, the 2,900 pages of Telegram texts were released of young Republican leaders openly embracing violence and Nazis and white supremacy. And what did J.D. Vance say? Just kids, shut up. Didn't even apologize for it. Jay Jones came out during the debate. I own it. It was stupid. I've learned from it, right? Second thing that happened, the government shutdown. These people are reckless. They are arrogant. They have callous disregard. They do not care because of their cruelty, Allison. I was telling folks right before you came on, people are suffering in Virginia. There's
Well,
hundreds of
you and
thousands of
I
people.
talked yesterday about how
Oh, yeah.
Virginia is the most impacted by Doge, the most impacted by the government shutdown. And it's not just federal workers, it's all the contractors.
Contractors.
And that, I wasn't too concerned about what was going to happen in Virginia. I was more concerned about what was going to happen in New Jersey because you've got, I think what did my friend, you know what, I'm not going to say what my friend said. Let's not go there. But when you talk about New Jersey, you think men, you think machismo, you think people who were born there, and that's what the Trump endorsed candidate was, right? He just was kind of, I don't know, quintessential New Jersey. But here we had Mikey
And they
Sherrill
told
win.
us, the polls and corporate media said it's tightening. It's tightening.
It's
He's
tight.
within 1
It's
point.
tight. She won by like 13
14.
points. 14.
14.
That's insane. Again, the fact that California decided Prop 50 the minute polls closed, I've never seen anything in California decided, anything, and I've lived here for 30 years, the minutes that polls closed. That is how much of a mandate this is. So, when Republicans say, oh, Trump won, it's a mandate, we have a mandate, even though you have the slimmest margin in the House ever conceived, the slimmest margin in the Senate, and that Trump only won by a little over 1%. That's not a mandate. What happened tonight is a mandate, and we need to celebrate it. We need to allow this to carry us into the midterms, and we need to understand that yes, we still do have free and fair elections. I know so many people after 2024 were like, "Well, we're never having elections again," but people showed up, and they showed up in record numbers. 2.3 million people in New York. You haven't seen those
Yes.
numbers since 1969. They
I mean,
still
that's
showed
wild.
up.
This was a blue tsunami, folks. This was not a wave. This was a tsunami. And this was a reckoning against Trump and MAGA's failed policies. That's it. I mean, trust the evidence of your eyes and ears. He also lost, folks. He lost all the Latino voters. Mike Madrid, and I've been talking about this for a while. Mike's been following this like a hawk.
Mike.
Follows in numbers for like 30 years. He said, watch. If there's overreach, I predict these numbers will go back to the Latino 2016, 2018 numbers. If there's overreach on immigration and if the economy goes bad, they will dump him. And folks, according to these numbers, from what we know right now, he has lost all those Latino voters, gone in less than a year, gone. And losing all those Latino voters, losing some of those Asian voters, losing young voters, plus losing a few MAGA voters because a few MAGA voters, folks, guess what? They went for Mamdani. This man who as Allison said, barely won by 1.4 points, has never cracked 50 and is deeply unpopular. All the polls show now his favorability is even worse. He's in the high mid 60s on favorability. His favorability is at 37, 38. It's going to get worse and worse as the economy gets worse and worse and as they get more cruel and callous. And my fear is as he gets more desperate and more cankled and as the majority turn against him, he's going to get more authoritarian. As he gets more authoritarian now.
That's why I was asking what's going to happen tomorrow. He's either going to stroke out or he's going to destroy the West Wing
Yeah,
of the White
some
House.
AI videos, some posts, some meltdowns on Fox. Mamdani, he's going to punish. He will punish New York, and I'm curious how. And I think it'll be through ICE. I hope I'm wrong, but
ICE and withholding federal funds, for whatever reason. And tomorrow I'm on the Daily Beans, or maybe it was today. I can't remember. The days are all mushing together. But I interviewed Kat Abou-Gazela,
oh, she's great.
who is an incredible candidate for Illinois' 9th congressional district. But the person that she's with, Ben Collins from The Onion, posted tonight. I think the thing we'll learn. I think the thing we'll learn tonight is that people fucking hate what's going on, and they will
Yep.
straight ticket vote against anyone involved in starving people while pillaging the country and kidnapping their neighbors. I don't think it matters who that person is.
I, I, you know what? I feel like this. Let me put it this way. My takeaway is this: we can imagine good things. We
Yes.
can dream good things and we can have good things. I was telling this to my parents, I took them out to dinner and I said the really tragic part about this, it didn't have to be this way in America. We don't have to live this way. We're such a privileged country. And I've traveled the world, folks. Just even as things are so bad right now, just trust me, we're so much better off than most people. But we can even be better. We can even be more decent, more kind, have better education, better healthcare, right? But because of the cruelty and the greed and the racism that has always kept us back. And then others say, well, don't dream too big. Don't dream about a living wage. Don't
Chill
dream about
out.
affordable health care.
Don't go too progressive. Don't
Don't
talk
go too
about Medicare for all. Don't get too crazy over there. Oh
Yeah,
my
don't
gosh,
get too crazy about free buses. Don't get too crazy about expanding the court. Don't get too crazy about giving Puerto Rico a choice of whether or not they want to join us or have independence, or whether Washington D.C. should be a state or not. Easy, easy. Come on now. Slow steps, small steps, restoration. And I think what you're seeing is people like, F it, I'm starving. I can't live off of restoration. I can't live off of inshallah money and bread. I want change now, mother effers. A democratic socialist, fine, F it. Democratic socialist, bring that shit on. Vegan turkeys, I'll be a vegan turkey. A frog, a dancing frog, I'll be a dancing frog. I think you're seeing it, folks. Young people don't give a shit. They don't care about the institution, the establishment. They want fighters. They want passionate, sincere, authentic fighters willing to take out and take down the oligarchy and reform the system. And I pray to God, I pray that the Democratic leadership sees the opening path. They can run circles around the Republicans if this holds, and if the Republicans get far worse, which they will, and if inshallah we have free and fair elections. But the lane is wide open,
We just
and there
had
is
free and fair elections. We just had free and fair elections. And with the Democratic establishment, please everybody remember, there's only literally like 9 people who are dickbags. Okay, it's going to be easier to carve them out than to reform the other 18 million of us. So let's do that.
Yeah, we have the numbers. We have the numbers, folks. I'm tired. I have a flight tomorrow. I
Where are
have
you
to.
flying tomorrow? Where are you going?
I'm flying home. I have to get back home tomorrow because it's my daughter's birthday, and I promised her I would at least say hi to her on her birthday. So I will leave tomorrow. I'll try to put this up. So this is Allison. I literally got her out of bed for the 1,200 people watching us at freaking 2 a.m. on East Coast time, 11:14. Thank you so much. I just shared our thoughts about Mamdani's victory, the Blue Tsunami, and what this means and what Democrats should do. We'll have this up on our Substack and YouTube channels in a couple of hours. This is Allison Gill from The Breakdown. She's also the host of the Daily Beans podcast. She also does video podcasts now. She also hosts videos for Midas Touch. She, like me, is a terrible capitalist. We've kept everything for free, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give her some money. Support her. Become a paid subscriber. If you have a few dollars left over, this is the left hook. It's all free. No paywalls. If you have a few bucks, give me some. I'll buy my daughter a cupcake, and maybe
You are
my.
way better. You are way better at this when you're sleepy than I am. I feel like a complete idiot right now. I'm like, hey everyone, yay, we win.
No, you're
I'm
really good.
so tired.
But it's good. It's
So
it's.
thank
I mean,
you.
it's a good day. It's a good day, and we need to be. The last thing I'll say is we need to be joyful. We need to find these moments of joy. You can't be a martyr. I don't want martyrs. I don't want you to die. You're useless to me if you die. If you're miserable and bitter and like an alcoholic and chain smoking and terrible to your partner, you don't do any. You don't help me. You don't help your kids. Your kids see that and they go, "Man, my mom and dad spent their whole life resisting. They were terrible. I'm just gonna go make money." But if they see instead joy and they see community and they see people working with others and uplifting others, they're like, I was part of something beautiful. My parents really taught me great values, and it was fun. It was fun fighting for democracy. So we need these moments of joy to sustain us. We also need it as catharsis for a release, and we also need it as markers for where we still need to go. Right? Remember that day we thought, oh, there was no hope, but then Mamdani won. We could have more of those days, and this is going to be a long walk, folks. It's going to be a long walk. We're not done yet. Because once Trump is gone, and Mr. Kankles ain't gonna last long.
Well,
This
that's
new
what
MAGA.
Mamdani said. It's about defeating Trump and who's next.
There you go. It's these neo-Nazis are up next, man. They're even more radical than Trump. You all aren't paying attention. So we have our work cut out for us, but we have the numbers. Today was America. Two middle fingers to MAGA. Four middle fingers. The toe middle fingers came out too. 65-35 Prop 50, double digit win Abigail Spanberger, double digit win Mickey Sherrill, nearly double digit win Mamdani, Pennsylvania Supreme Court. I mean, folks, it was a shellacking. Thank you so much, Allison, for joining me. So much fun to do this with you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone, be kind to each other. Enjoy the day. Relax. And please, oh, please, don't be a fascist. Sleep, Allison. Sleep.
I will. Thank you for dragging me out of bed. It was great to see you and good to see everyone.
Cream of meat sandwiches striking their target. Bye, everyone.